Aoki was a prominent activist in the San Francisco Bay Area during the 60s.
Definitely Richard was someone who looked at things politically. The impression I got was basically, if you become his friend, he's like your friend for life. And he was like that with most people.
He had been very involved in the Third World Liberation Front strike at Berkeley in 1969. He was one of the most militant leaders of that strike. Aoki had also been involved in a group called the Asian American Political Alliance, one of the first Asian activist groups in the country. He'd also had a connection with the Black Panthers. Aoki was head of the Berkeley chapter of the Panthers and later became a field marshal in the Panthers. And it was known that he had given the Black Panthers guns.
West Oakland, prior to World War II, was known as Little Yokohama because of the high concentration of people of Japanese ancestry living there. Most of them moved there from San Francisco after the earthquake of 1906. My grandfather came to the United States in 1902. Both my grandparents were immigrants, but my parents were American-born citizens. So during World War II, with the depopulation of the Japanese, there was an increase of the African-American population in West Oakland. These were mostly Southern blacks who came to Oakland to work in the defense industries, the military installations. Even prior to World War II, there was a significant African-American population in West Oakland as a result of the railroads. Oakland was the western terminus of the Transcontinental Railroad, and the African-American Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters was very strong in Oakland.
Aoki established his political credentials and became known to other activists in the Bay Area. Aoki was a student at Merritt College, and that's where he met Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, who would go on to found the Black Panther Party. The Panthers at that time were very concerned about police brutality in Oakland. They wanted to end police brutality. And they had an idea that one way to do that would be community patrols of the police. And in these community patrols, members of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, if they saw police interacting with citizens,
there would be a Black Panther present with a camera and also an unloaded shotgun. The goal of that was to be an eyewitness to prevent any possibility of police brutality.
But they needed guns in order to do these patrols. So they went to Richard Aoki. We went to a third world brother we knew, a Japanese radical cat. He had guns. We told him that we wanted those guns to begin to institutionalize and let black people know that we have to defend ourselves as Malcolm X said we must. And Aoki did. He provided not only weapons, but weapons training.
I have seen where the crime statistics for homicides, robberies, armed robberies actually went down during that period. Now, why? Why? Because these young thugs that were on the streets, I mean, I wasn't that far removed, nor was Huey from that grouping, because at one point, Huey and I entertained ideas of becoming pimps, because one of our role models was one of the most notorious pimps in Oakland. He was a bad dude. He's still around, not in town. Too many people are gunning for him now. But when you give hope and you give another alternative to people that don't have that hope, don't have that alternative, you can produce positive results. And what happened is that these young thugs that had been around shooting each other up, suddenly East Oakland, West Oakland became friends because historically they've been at each other's throats. Once we did the North Richmond escapade where 30 of us held off 300 cops, including 2 helicopters, we became heroes in North Richmond, the whole Dow family, there were 7 brothers in the Dow family, joined the party and established the Richmond branch of the Black Panther Party. So that's an example of where walking the walk after doing the talk paid dividends. And for a while, the tensions between the police and the community kind of simmered until the incident with Huey, where he had to defend himself and was being railroaded to prison, erupted, which then became a national and even international struggle. Up to that point, we were dealing with issues on a criminal basis, if you want to look at it that way. But once the issue came up concretely in Huey's case, it became a political issue, and much of the credit for that should go to Eldridge Cleaver, because he recognized from the beginning that what happened in Oakland was really a political act, and that it should be treated as such, and the defense of Huey should be done on a political level. And I bought into that because I was right there and said, well, this is what we're going to have to do. And the struggle to save Huey then saw a tremendous increase in the size of the party, to the extent that at one point the party had 5,000 members in 43 branches throughout the country and an international office in Algiers. I began talking with buddies that were coming back from Vietnam in the early stages who had been advisors. And they were telling me stories I couldn't quite believe. They were talking about Zippoing villages, you know, going into villages and burning the whole damn place down and wiping out women and children. And this was years before My Lai. And I said, wait a minute, that doesn't sound kosher to me, in the sense that I'm planning to be a professional soldier, and professional soldiers don't commit atrocities against civilians. And I can't be a party to that. Plus, my family's from samurai stock in Japan, and that's not an honorable thing to do. Going mano a mano, hey, that's part of the game. But women and children, I don't play that. Even on the streets, I never played that. I was a young hoodlum in West Oakland and Berkley, but those type of things weren't on my table at the time, and never has been. So about the 7th year, I really started having moral reservations about the war in Vietnam. When you're in the military, you hear a lot of stuff, and you find out a lot of stuff civilians don't know about. So I was a couple of years ahead of the American public regarding what was really going on in Vietnam. So at the end of my 8 years, I went down the Oakland Army Terminal.
When Richard passed away, he had in his apartment 2 uniforms neatly pressed in his apartment. And one uniform was the Black Panther uniform. The other uniform that he had laid out and neatly pressed was his Army uniform.